Appreciate it. So I'm going to just look at the participants, and what I'll do is okay. So
This call is no longer being recorded.
I appreciate the warm introduction. That was extremely helpful, council member. Um, my name is Robert Weinstein, and good afternoon to all. I'm really excited to be here before you guys tonight. I know a lot of work has gone into this presentation, um, and I'm excited to share it with you. This development is on 7995 Spence Road. There's 42 acres of land. Um, we will be rezoning the land from AG1 to and single family to MIX. Um, and I guess we'll jump right into it. So just a small notion here. One of the first times that we discussed this project was at February 17th, 2023, as you can see at the bottom right-hand corner of the presentation. It's gone through many iterations. We've spoken with council members, we spoke with the mayor, we spoke with planning and zoning. So we've really put a lot into this, and we're excited to hear, your feedback, your comments. At the end of the day, we want development to be something that you guys are extremely, proud of and want in your community ultimately. The team members. So WB Property Group, it's a family-owned company. We have offices in Houston, in Tennessee, and in New York. We build luxury apartments, best-in-class communities that are highly amenitized, that really have a custom look, and really foster a work, live, play environment. In addition, we have best-in-class professionals, Eberly and Associates. They're local. Mike is actually on the call or should be joining shortly, as well as Pool and Pool Architects. They've done a number of different communities in Georgia, and have had some real great success. A little bit more on our company. We are family owned and operated. We hold for the long term, so we have properties that we've held for 80 years. We believe in reinvestment, and we believe in doing the right thing when it comes to construction, quality of construction, and just really being proud of our projects. And we'll show you some shortly. So, as the council member said, we'll love to hear from you guys. I'm going to start the presentation, but that will be at the end. And we want to make sure that everyone's heard, and we're going to take notes in terms of what the questions are. And, hopefully we have the answers. If we don't, we'll get to them. Don't worry. Okay, going right into it. So South Fulton, City on the Rise. We're looking to build, as I said before, best-in-class apartments. We want to emphasize and put emphasis on the community and on the amenity spaces where people can come together, because we really believe in bringing the community to each other, right? Not isolated, not keeping a sterile community, keeping people around amenities, whether it's TV, pool tables, gyms, cabanas, community gardens, things to bring people together. Ultimately, people are social and want to be together. And I think that, highly amenitized communities, foster these types of interactions. In addition, we'll be putting some commercial into two of the clubhouses on site. There will be two clubhouses and 2,000 feet of commercial. That'll be like a local store for the residents. And just some of the other amenities that we'll have. We'll have WeWork style offices, conference rooms, business center, dog wash, indoor and outdoor grilling areas, um, pools, lounge areas, cabanas. We really want this to be a full solution where people can live, work, play, and really enjoy themselves. We also participate in the Officer Next Door program. We like our properties and our residents to feel safe. Sometimes it's just someone falls, cuts themselves. So we reduce rents for officers on site. Typically, there are 2 or 3 officers, and they're really the first responders in the event of any emergencies. So it really helps keep people safe and feeling safe. So as I was discussing before, the current zoning is AG1, which is agricultural 1/single family, and our proposed zoning is MIX, which is mixed use. This is the site. This is Spence Road and Highway 92. And so this is 43 acres. Just to the north, there are 2 apartment buildings that are affordable. To the east, since this is an industrial corridor, there's a good amount of industrial. And then as we go to the west, there is another apartment house over here and some retail over on Renaissance Parkway. There's another one that's being put in over here as well. Moving right along, this just shows some precedents for residential apartments in the area. But again, these are 1980s vintage. We're looking to bring you best-in-class multifamily that we can all really be proud of and people really want to live in. That's highly amenitized, in an area that's safe and is also gated. So in terms of amenities, the in-unit finishes include granite or quartz countertops, smart energy-efficient thermostats, walk-in showers, full tile or stone backsplash in the kitchens, stainless steel appliances, wood-style flooring, double vanity sinks, spacious walk-in closets, LED lights, high-efficiency windows, washer dryers, and Energy Star appliances. It's important for us to build to a certain standard of energy efficiency. We are on the Energy Star certification, and we're 70 or greater. In terms of the community areas, we talked about walking trails. It's 42 acres. It's a pretty large parcel. Playground, dog park, wellness center, and with fitness and yoga. Mail and package room, access controlled public areas, right? So at night, past 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, certain areas will be locked off, like the clubhouse where the leasing area is. Gathering areas with pool tables, computer stations, beverage centers, think iced coffee, warm coffee, and then a few barbecue areas that have some yard games. And these are inspirational photo renderings that we've put together. These will show like the WeWork style offices, so people can come in during the day, work in the offices, leave. Sometimes if they're sick and want to stay home, or if they just work from home, it's just a lot easier. And we don't charge for use of the WeWork style offices. Moving right ahead, I was talking about community gardens. This is kind of what we're thinking about, where the community can come together, and those who want to garden can garden. There'll be a yoga area. Typically, we put some sort of arts and crafts room in. Some people like to draw. It's good for kids if there are some kids. Lounge type areas, fitness areas, pickleball. We think that it's important to be active. And this is a small area, for toddlers to play, like an indoor playground. These are some inspirational photos of what the exterior will likely look like. We're thinking clean lines, more on the modern side based on feedback from the council members. Um, but this is a good representation of what you can expect for best in class multi. So this is the site plan. There are two entrances. There's a northern entrance and a southern entrance. Um, for the first phase, we have three buildings coming off of Spence. Um, Here are your three buildings. The parking is evenly dispersed. Courtyards will house pools. This is a nice retention pond, so that will be really beautiful if you're looking out onto the water. As you cross this culvert towards the west, um, this will be the second phase, and it's comprised of four buildings with parking dispersed as well. Sorry, this is a little hard to see. Um, so between the two phases, we're proposing 842 units with 2,000 feet of commercial. Uh, and um, we will be meeting many of the required um, specifications in the code in order to get here. And here are a bunch of the different specifications that we meet. This project is a larger project. We looked for a site in South Georgia for about 3 years, came to this site. We've been working on it for over a year to refine it. We proposed the project to the city. Once we were proposed at the city, we had to go to DRI. That's the Atlantic Regional Commission for their review of the project. They have reviewed the project. In addition, we had to go to GRETA, the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, and those both took the better part of almost 8 and change months. There was a lot of iteration. There were a lot of studies that had to be produced, both on the traffic as well as on the civil engineering side of things. And ultimately, GRETA here approved the development subject to conditions. And now we are back at the city level, and we were looking forward to going through the process. But before that, we would love everyone's feedback here. Just a few quick snapshots. So WB Property Group, just a little bit about us, some spaces that we've built out. This is a project in Tennessee, close to one of our offices that we built. This is 246 apartments. It's won best project in Tennessee for, I think we're almost on our 7th year, give or take. Has a beautiful clubhouse, highly amenitized, 4 and 5 story. And this is in Knoxville, Tennessee, near Farragut. So with that, I would like to open up the floor to questions and see what we can answer. And if we don't have the answer, like I said before, happy to get back to people. But I'd like to open up for questions. Thank you. So I think the best way to do this is either if you have a question, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. And I think I can please state the address again. Okay. So sorry, I'm just seeing that. So Drew asked to state the address again. It's 7995 Spence Road. I think I have there we go. Right here. We have questions about traffic generally and GRETA conditions as well. So let's see if we have our traffic consultant on.
Drew, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sure. So the three of us here, we were just kind of pitching some ideas back and forth. And yeah, traffic. We've got a 2-lane road. In that, Spence Road is just 2 lanes there. So, I'd certainly be considering for traffic. And then, yeah, the GRTA conditions that were mentioned in that one memorandum, what if you could elaborate on those?
Yeah. Let me see if, because it's hard to see who's on here if they dialed in because it doesn't have their name. But I think Nalia's on the phone.
I am. Hi, my name is Nyla Mayer. I'm with A&R Engineering, and we are. Oh, I think there's an echo. There we go. Um, I'm with A&R Engineering, and we supported Robert here as the traffic consultant for the project, and we went through the process with ARC and Greta as they reviewed the DRI and have seen this project through the entirety of that process. So hopefully I can answer some of your questions there. You mentioned, Drew, that Spence Road is a point of concern and that it is a 2-lane road. And I'm assuming the question's going to be operations, correct? Or is
Yeah,
there something
capacity.
specific? Okay.
If at the end of the day, by the time you've completed all phases of it, you're looking at 840 units. Um, Definitely, I'm expecting that this would not be the only question about, you know, pushing the capacity of the local service roads to, you know, deal with the traffic that would come with that many units, presumably.
Right, right. So the good news is that we evaluated traffic conditions at different points in time. So we first started out by evaluating traffic conditions as they are current day, so without the development. Then we add in some background growth and evaluate what traffic might look like in 2030 or 2027. In this case, it was 2030, just with general population growth and all that good stuff. And then we also looked at traffic conditions in the future after this development is built, with that traffic included. So, with that being said, we noted that while there is an addition of traffic on Spence Road specifically, we saw a nominal change in mainline traffic on Spence Road. So a lot of the delays that would be introduced are going to be on the driveway approach. So the folks who are trying to exit the neighborhood or the community that is being proposed. And kind of to tie that back to some of the Greta conditions, a lot of the Greta conditions that were kind of put out in their official notice was focused entirely on those site driveways and how to optimize operations at those points where this development would be entering and exiting traffic onto SR 92. I also, in case it alleviates some of that concern, want to point out that 92 it's a pretty large arterial connector roadway in the area, running in this area. And according to some of the data that I was able to pull from the state in 2023, they had a daily traffic count of about 9,000 vehicles, which is quite a large number. And I'm sure that's only grown since then. And comparatively, the amount of traffic that would be generated from this development itself on the grand scheme of capacity in comparison, it definitely should be something that the road as is should be able to operate. And that's something that we've seen supported by the operations um, capacity analysis. But if there's any specific concern as well, I'm happy to chat about that as well.
Any other
Okay, next in the queue is we have in the chat, we have Rosalind Scott that said, who are the potential commercial vendors? Will there be a healthy grocery store? example, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, or Whole Foods. If you'd like to unmute yourself, Ms. Scott, to, verbalize your question.
Hi, thank you for that. No, you read it off perfectly. I kind of wanted to know who are the potential commercial vendors that will be in that location. That's kind of one of my concerns, just because it could be office, and then down the road it could be empty offices, just unused commercial real estate, as well as with the growth of those apartments. Um, will basically acquire like a grocery store. And so I wanted to know whether there are going to be any healthy grocery stores that's going to be placing a bid in that location as well.
So it's a great question. And when we looked at this site originally, we were wondering if commercial would work. Commercial doesn't work on this site for a number of different reasons. And when I say commercial, I'm saying large box grocery. One of which is, let me see if I can pull the site plan. Right over here, we have a pretty large pond that we want to maintain. But this is our frontage. And over here, there are power lines that run east-west through the site. Retailers, and let me pull out a different site plan. Retailers want to be, here's a better view of that pond, right against the road, right? So they want to have frontage, they want to have a presence, and they want to have density. And so while this helps with their density problem, this site being set back so far because of this small retention pond here, and then the power lines going through the site on the northern portion, it does not make it conducive for a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's or big box retailer. Those big box retailers typically like to be in, they call them like grocery anchored centers that have frontage on busy roads. So the stores that the commercial that we are bringing in will just be commercial for the residents on site. So think, coffee shop, convenience store, something like that. And so sorry, go ahead.
No, it's it. Thank you. That is a concern, because that's over 800 units. You multiply that by what per residence. That's a lot just to service. So, you know what I mean? Like small commercials of that nature. But that is my concern, as well as infrastructure. My concern is infrastructure here, period. I'm from California, so this infrastructure is really different. So in regards to all the traffic that's backed up, but definitely something to service the community that you're trying to develop in that area. That has to be a major concern, because the closest grocery store is not in close proximity, if that makes sense. So you're just gonna have just a backup, as well as other issues. Um, but thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. And I think also, as we get the additional density here, because we spoke with a few retail brokers, what they were saying was these retailers start coming in when they see density, when they see a lot of, renters coming into the market, who will end up, shopping at their grocery stores. And so I know that if you go northeast, there's a Kroger, the area's pretty, and there's a Walmart there as well. And I think that, this will help ultimately attract grocers, but, I think that this isn't necessarily the site for it. There was another.
Yeah, but Felicia Powell has her hand raised. Felicia, if you'd like to unmute yourself to ask your question.
Yes. Okay, so yes, there is over 800 units, and like everyone else, I'm concerned with the infrastructure because, of course, the traffic has changed since 2003. It's only 2 lanes on Spence all around. So is there maybe a talk to reduce the number of units because there's already too much traffic and you have the infrastructure to worry about already? And the commercial, like she said, I mean, you build it, they will come. So maybe a smaller neighborhood grocery store, maybe something for the kids, some kind of entertainment, because you get landlocked and oversaturated people and more cars. Because I don't know, maybe the study didn't do as well a job. If we're quoting 2003 and it's 2025. So it's a lot of congestion in that area and the infrastructure. So is there any other discussion, maybe revisit not big box stores, but their neighborhood grocery stores, and rather than just a convenience store or a corner store, but something for the kids, some reduce the number. That's just too many for the 2 lanes that's all around Spence. Is there any discussion in reference to any of those?
So we looked at that before, in terms of bringing in retail onto this site and making, shopping center. It wasn't economically feasible, because of this large, retention pond. Um, but again, when we were talking to our retail broker, he basically said, the retailers, like the ones that everyone is talking about here, which I understand is very important to the community, whether it's Trader Joe's or Kroger, they don't have enough at this point, enough density in order to warrant making the investment. So hopefully, with this additional density, um, more retailers will come in. Whether it is a neighborhood store or it's a big box grocer, I think, you guys will get there.
So what about anything else like for the kids? Do they need something as well? What other commercial? I mean, what can be done with that as well? Because you need to, if you're putting that many units, sounds like, a lot of kids too, they're gonna need something to do. Or have we thought about that as opposed just the dog wash and everything?
Yeah, so there will be a lot of amenities, for kids, right? There'll be play areas, they'll be around, this pond. The community will be gated, but there'll be some trails, there'll be some pickleball. We can take a look and see, what other recreational activities we can put in there. But there was a gym. There was also, let me just pull out here. So there's yoga. There was a recreational room for art, movies, that type of stuff. Lounge more geared towards adults, but kids will probably use it as well. This was the kind of indoor playground area, pickleball court, and a gym, depending on at what age, and an outdoor garden. We want people to come together, and spend quality time. Same thing around the pool. This is just a rendering again. It'll be a different configuration, but this will be luxury and it will be highly amenitized.
My last question, what is the two entrance? Where does it let out again?
Yep. Let me just gonna pull that 1 second. So there's two entrances. One entrance that's over here. They're both on Spence. Let me see if I can scroll. Can you see my screen? Okay.
So there sounds like one way in and one way out. They're both on Spence, but on opposite ends. I'm driving. Sorry, I can see it, but I can't see it.
No problem. Yeah, one is on the north side of Spence and one is on the south side of the site. Um, so yes, there are two entrances.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So our next question comes from Yvonne Boone. Yvonne, if you would like to unmute yourself. And she was in the chat asking Nyla to help her understand the previous response on the projected number for the increase in traffic.
Right, ma'am, I heard you, spew out a couple of numbers and a couple of concerns, but I didn't hear an answer. I heard what you said was a possible projection and where that projection might come from. So could you help me understand how 800 more homes are going to impact the traffic of a two-lane highway?
Yes. So
So what are
in
the
general,
numbers being projected?
yes. Oh, so projected, that typically means we forecast what future conditions will look like. So it's based on a lot of statistical equations and things of that sort. But that all comes from um, the number of trips or the number of vehicles that are typically associated with one unit. And from there, we are able to determine the number of total trips that will result from a development of a certain size. So in this case, it was 842 units of housing along with some retail. So we took that into account and determined the number of trips that would result um, on the peak hour level, which is typically your worst hour of traffic in the morning and your worst hour of traffic in the evening. And that's what we analyzed, as well as 24-hour daily traffic. And we determined that on Spence Road specifically in the region, so we analyzed, I think, a total of 8 intersections in the area. But on Spence Road, near the segment of Spence Road where the development is proposed, we did not see a significant diminishing of operations. And the greatest impact was for the vehicles that would be leaving the development at the driveway approach. So not traveling northbound or southbound on Spence Road. Does that answer the question? Or I'm happy to
Not
explain again.
exactly. What does not significant mean? I'm not
Yeah,
understanding.
sure. No, I appreciate you kind of telling me to scale it back a little bit. So we tend to look at operations in terms of vehicle delay, right? So I am experiencing a delay of 30 seconds. I'm experiencing a delay of a minute or 5 minutes. And so on Spence Road, what we saw with the addition of this traffic was a delay that was less than a minute um, of increase while traffic was flowing on Spence Road. And this is
Okay,
on the actual segment of through traffic on Spence Road.
okay. And you said something about a number of 9,000. That's what you guys are looking at, cars per day or cars doing that?
Per day, correct? Yes, and
Okay,
that
so
that
we're
is
talking
just
about 9,000 with that. And so what is this new number based on? How many cars?
so so that was a historical data point that GDOT had collected, but we do take their the historical data and kind of project it forward, taking into account developments in the area, taking into account population growth, people moving into this region, this community, as not specifically with this development, but just general growth of the area. And let me find that number for you. Just need a minute.
And while she's finding that, because I do want to, address that point as well. So typically speaking, when we propose a project and we go into a municipality, um, traffic study is put in place. The municipality asks us to look at a number of different intersections. They specify how many. We look at those intersections, data is actually physically collected, and then these miles are ran according to the specifications of TIAs, which are traffic impact analysis programs. Now, take that a step further, because this project is of significant impact, it had to go in front of Greta. And so that was an additional layer of analysis and scrutiny that this project had went through. And even with that, sometimes Greta will propose, okay, you need a turnaround here, or you need a light here. But even with the additional traffic, we didn't put enough traffic in to warrant those improvements. And ultimately, they preside over Georgia. So we were happy that we were not making as large of an impact as other large developments have. But also, just to be specific, retail will generate a lot more in terms of traffic than traditional multifamily or apartments, because people will come, go to their job, stay at their job, come home at night. It's not every person, but it's the majority of people. When you have a large retail center, you're attracting people from all over. And that's why these large box retailers want to be on large thoroughfares and not on side street or set back, because they need enough of an arterial to go in and out and have high traffic flow without the delays if they can help it. So the fact of the matter is, here Greta has gone through it, they've reviewed it, they've approved it, but I just want to make sure that we're addressing the traffic implications.
So, Robert, I don't have the annual number on hand, but I can say that's something I can get to you. I just have what I have in front of me, just away from the office. But on an hourly scale of the worst hour of traffic, we're going from about 500 vehicles traveling southbound on Spence Road to 650, which it's expected, but it is something that we are able to confirm operationally is not exhausting capacity at all.
And so what I'd like to do is let's get the yearly number, and then
Sure.
we will respond back accordingly.
Yeah, I'm happy to get that to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, and next we
I'd like
have,
to have something to say.
okay, Mr. Lawrence, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Yes, with your traffic study, did it bring in consideration to the railroad track that at the 8200 block of Spence Road, sometime between 6 and 9, that train is on the track sometime a whole hour. So do y'all have that in your study? That it literally stops traffic because of the crossing. And this is at the Lees Mill Road and Spence Road, that the train track there. And sometimes that traffic is all the way back to the, where's that, Drew, that's over there? Is that clean air?
So
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah, or pretty far back towards
Yes,
where
Site 1. I've seen it go back as far as Site 1. So that's like almost right in front of that property,
So
the 7900. So I'm concerned for that, because I know I'm in the 8200 block, and sometimes I have to just sit in traffic. Sometimes I get bold enough to kind of peep over the hill with my car, because we're just sitting there because there's no traffic coming across the track. But most times I have to sit there. So I'm concerned with that, and I like to know if that in the traffic study, that this is one of our problems that we're dealing with right now on Spence Road, that it literally stops traffic.
So to my knowledge, that condition was not explored in the traffic study, but it sounds like it is a significant existing condition and an existing delay that obviously you're experiencing. So that's something that perhaps we can discuss with the local jurisdiction, see if we can get some more information on how that scheduling happens of, that train passing through and how that's currently managed. And that might give us some more information to account for and potentially suggest some improvements.
Yes, and the reason why, because you was talking about turnarounds and your traffic study, and my property had become that turnaround. Um, well, and so everyone turns around in my driveway. So that was something I think that you really need to look at, because that is truly impeding on the flow of traffic there itself.
Yes, definitely. We'll chat with the local government and see if we can get some additional information that they might have on that and explore any suggestions that we can come up with. I do want to clarify, though, that since this development is providing full access, so that's an entering and exiting lane out of the proposed development, we do not anticipate adding any sort of U-turns on Spence Road. So we're hoping to be providing that adequate circulation on property for vehicles to directly exit left or right onto Spence Road, hopefully not needing to have a U-turn on Spence Road.
Okay, and let's see, next we have Heather. Heather Roberts, if you'd like to unmute yourself to ask your question about plans to widen Spence Road.
Yeah, my question really was about, with all of the proposed traffic that's going to be generated from this new development, because Spence Road is just 2 lanes, one in each direction. What was the plan to widen the road? Because as the previous gentleman mentioned, when you go further down Spence Road, that you do have that railroad track that you have to deal with, and it does cause a huge delay when that train is coming through. So with that in mind, what is the plan for widening Spence Road?
Yeah, so it's really helpful to talk to residents of the area because you learn about things like this, about railroad tracks and delays that y'all are experiencing. So I do appreciate that. Um, we are proposing for turn lanes on Spence Road, so it will be widened partially at the side driveways to allow for vehicles that are going to be entering or exiting the development to pull out of the main lane into your left turn lane and storage area and your right turn lane to get those vehicles that are trying to stop and turn out of the through lane. And that will allow those through vehicles to keep on moving and additionally help them prevent delays on people who are just trying to pass through on Spence Road.
Okay. I guess my 2 cents on that question as well is that currently there are not any plans to widen the road. Those type of projects are kind of, I guess, infrastructure, like uh, road transportation road projects. I know that there is a project that DOT has with the interchange right there uh, at Sonoya Road. I think it's exit 61. I might be wrong, but that exit, there is a whole interchange project that actually is going to divert traffic in another way that would alleviate some of the traffic the clogging up of traffic that goes through Spence down Oakley Industrial. But there are currently no plans from the city doesn't require developers uh, when the roads, even if it's like a 2-lane road, this the city at this time is not requiring anyone to widen the road in order for this project to be successful because as Nyla mentioned, the report is showing the report that she has or that analysis shows that what is in place can currently support the increase, even an increase in traffic. If it was a lot more, I suppose, then we would have to look at trying to widen things. And I think even with Harris Road, there's some conversations. This has nothing to do with the developer, but Harris Road, there were going to be some improvements done. Harris Road is just a little further down and is like half dirt, half it's just really messed up. And half of Harris Road is in South Fulton, the other half is in Fairburn. So we're trying to work together to uh, get Harris Road paved and get it up to par. And so that's a project that it's still in progress. It's still a work in progress. So I just wanted to add that.
I appreciate you adding all of those points. That brings up the point that GDOT does have the improvement project that you mentioned, as well as a widening project on Sonoya Road, I want to say. And both of those projects are slated to be completed before the build year of this proposed development. So hopefully that infrastructure in that area will be stronger, traffic will be diverted at that interchange that you mentioned. And those are all conditions that we took into account in our analysis and also contributes to somewhat of the conditions that we resulted in our report, which shows the level of service operations functioning as we would expect with these improvements, and nothing, I use the word significant, but I know that that isn't very tangible, but we did account for these improvement projects, and that seems to have helped.
I think there was also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to address, there was, Felicia also asked a question, since it's gated, sounds like there should be a U-turn option if someone makes a mistake. So, as we go into this community, oops, I just lost my PDF. Bear with me 1 second.
While you're looking for that, Mr. Weinstein, I just wanted to, I know Drew Demand has his hand up, but I wanted to just answer his question about doing a traffic study. So traffic studies just for like developers or just like point of information, just to know, traffic studies are not done just to know things. They're done like for specific reasons. So like the traffic study is done when you're doing a road project or when you're looking to substantiate data for a traffic light, a traffic signal, traffic calming devices, those type of things. So there have been some traffic studies in that area for specific purposes, but the city, because traffic studies cost like a lot of money, between like $30,000, $50,000, even more. The city does not do traffic studies to be able to assist developers and say, okay, here's our traffic study, so this is what you can and can't do. That's why someone like Miss Nyla is hired, because she does the analysis along with other data that's already available from Department of Transportation and the municipalities, the data that's there, and she analyzes it and those type of things. So that's a reason why we just to explain that we don't do traffic studies without there being a specific reason because it's a high cost to it.
That's a good point.
Is,
And
is
then,
that your question, Drew, more or less?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So just, I do think, here we are looking at a specific purpose. So, I this project puts us in a position traffic study, an actual practical traffic study, rather than just strong projections, would be very informative. It could help make a determination, based on real traffic. Um, but I totally get that point. So point taken. And I do, I think that they'll dangling questions about traffic, just like there always are, right? So, but yeah, I hear you. I
Okay.
did want to bring up one situation that I'll take two parts. One, um, I know this property well from having numerous times, and I know that the pond there, that's probably like a 2 acre pond. That's a cool amenity and something that obviously, can't be built on. Um, it sort of sets up a development for having a really nice natural feature. And of course, there are woodland areas adjacent to all of the other subdivisions and stuff all along there. And in the current plan, I'm seeing what look like some areas of space, which is cool. Um, as Councilwoman Pritchett knows, I'm a big advocate for conservation areas and green space in the city. So I would like to see that maximized. Um, but on another point of ecological concern, um, only probably maybe 2,000, 3,000 feet from the site is a waste process or waste handler that's currently going by the name of Clean Earth. There are multiple operators that do business there. Some of them handle hazardous, most of them handle non-hazardous waste. But in the past, there have been toxic releases. In fact, uh, very toxic release in the 2000s that sick wildlife in the area. And it's a thing that it was so egregious that there was a big suit against the company. Aaron Brockovich came and did her thing. So it's kind of a big deal. And if you read the full proceedings and briefings about that, it's really fascinating. And it turns out that this company, which operates places all around the country, is has paid out hundreds of $millions in the last couple of decades in fines. Um, and so I, we haven't had kind of residential development quite so close to that at this point, up until this point. And I do think that it's a pretty big concern. And I see one of two ways forward. One is, don't build the thing there because it's too close to this toxic website. Or two, this may be the impetus that we need to maybe move that type of operation on out of it. And I think I would like, either option. Really, the second option would be really great because I think we could stand to gain something significant by closing up shop on the waste transfer station, and that would make it a safer place for residents. And there's a school not too far from there, but there are some considerable environmental concerns, and I can elaborate more, but I think I already have.
I hear you, and I'm sorry that you guys went through that with Clean Earth. Um, we did a phase one on the parcel, and the phase one came out clean. Typically, um, you'll see if it was formerly a landfill site or something like that, it'll be identified. by the phase one consultant saying, asbestos or possible landfill, undocumented fill, something to that effect. But it was clean. So, for our site, I think we're okay. On the other site for Clean Earth, I can't really speak to um, their operation and possibly, removal from the community. But I can only really speak to our site here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth looking into though, because um, as we build closer and closer to industrial sites, residential, the health and well-being of the residents of those residential developments is definitely, you have to draw a line somewhere where, you're going to have an industrial district versus a residential. And I mean, honestly, I don't know what the building closest to Spence Road would be, but I wouldn't want to look out my window and see that Foods or whatever that house is over there. Um, so I I think honestly, I think I see for what this is a project that looks rather green, and I like that. But honestly, I do think that one of the things you see happening in our city is a somewhat of a disregard for the human ecology and the natural ecology, and especially where it comes to locating residential right by industrial. So that's the thing that it's bigger than just this project, but this is kind of emblematic, that tendency that we have. And a lot of, yeah, I'm not the only person who's concerned about that. So I just wanted to raise that concern. And in this particular case, you're not talking about the eyesore of a warehouse, but a facility that was operating with permits, but illegally also processing hazardous waste that, as I said, this was highly toxic. People, nearby residents, were like bleeding from their eyeballs. So, I mean, this is really, truly not a thing to disregard.
Well,
Thank you, Drew, for sharing that. That's really serious, and Drew, we'll continue our conversations and talk more about it. I do want to make sure that everyone is heard, and so Jamie Lynn Blair put in the chat that she doesn't want any more apartment complexes. Um, what does she need to do? She believes it's messing up the community. Um, she wishes that we would pull over the people going 100 miles per hour on Fayetteville Road from Oakley Industrial, so that way the city can get their money, our money that way. She also says that it's not fair that toxic chemicals in our community, that also the community got paid 15 years ago from a company that was releasing toxic stuff. Miss Jamie Lynn, if you would like to unmute and ask any questions or express yourself, I just wanted to make sure that we do hear everyone's point of view, because everyone's comments are important and should be considered.
Happy New Year, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Jamie Lynn. Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year to all. So I've been living in my community, the historic Fairburn, for 20 years, and I really appreciate my community. And I just don't want it to dilute to something too rural or just too chaotic. Of course, like I stated, they go 100 miles an hour in a small perimeter from basically Oakley Industrial to Fayetteville Road to 92. It's just that if everybody knows on the phone, from Oakley Industrial to Fayetteville Road to Spence is not a long line. That's like a NASCAR racing place. It's 2 lanes. They're doing 100 miles an hour. So if a police would just sit there, they throw trash as if we're like in Skid Row in California. And I'm just like, I and other community members, we go by ourselves and we go pick up trash. and I don't mind it, but on Fayetteville Road is very scary. People lose their lives from hit and runs, from picking up trash. So I've like made I went on Quick Flicks or Click Fix, and me and other of my neighbors have tried to get things resolved in that manner. But like I said, I'm sure you can get a lot of money quickly just from Fayetteville Road. The police stopping them for traffic. They're going 100 miles an hour. Me and my neighbor Paul, Andrew, we've seen it, we've heard about it. Like I said, they dump stuff at the railroad tracks, like literally beds and mattresses, all type of ridiculous business. I mean, I care for my home. I try to do my part to keep my value as well as have a clean community. I'm crying out for help. I'll come home and I'm happy and I'll smell smells. Like I said, I've been there 20 years. I'll smell things. I know Purina's over there. I don't even know actually what all is around there, but I do smell different smells and I don't deserve it. And I'm a taxpayer. And again, I love my community. I'm asking for what I need to do. Do I need to write something down, petition, whatever? But again, if you want to make some extra money, go on my street of not Gordon, but Fayetteville Road, and from the officers watching them put trash out to racing, basically, or just I don't know where they're going at this maximum speed, but hopefully. I would think it would be more accidents, but again, I'm just asking for really help on the chemicals being dispersed, and also, no, I don't want any more apartment homes. We have one up the street on off of Oakley Industrial. It's very vast. It's smaller. Help me out. What do we need to do?
So, thank you for your comments, Jamie Lynn. I wasn't particularly or specifically aware about the racing part on Fayetteville Road. I do know about the trash. Some of the community, some members on this call, we've done some community cleanups, and we definitely need to do some more and do some more educating on that. But I will talk to our police chief about patrolling in that area, keeping an eye out for that area, and also for our public works department to put that street on the list that we do cleanups so that you can see, more visible improvement. And in the chat, I have put my email address and also my city cell phone number so that, your sentiments, if you'd like to email that to me, so that I'll keep a record of how everybody's feeling outside of this recorded call. Just want to hear everybody and keep a record of that. So I've put my information there for you. So hope that helps.
I appreciate that.
Oh, not a problem. And so I see Yvonne have her hand up. Yvonne, if you could unmute yourself.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I just wanted to share with you, I have a digital copy of the EPA report on Clean Earth. If you would like me to share that with you. I know that you can't do every aspect of research on development, and you know that our organization, SAGE, is always here to provide what help we can.
Absolutely. I would love to see that and have that available, to anybody else who's interested in it as well. So yes, if you would please send it to me. That way we can have it in a PDF format that if anyone wants to look at it, that's really helpful and useful information. And I'm sure I'll be shocked at what the report, explains.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific. And Drew was not exaggerating when he described some of the horrors that happened during that time. And we just want to make you aware of those things.
Much appreciated, definitely. And I see that Felicia has made another comment in the chat about too many apartments on Spence and Oakley Industrial. So if I could chime in, I'm not me chiming in is just saying that there are two apartment complexes and they're on Oakley Industrial, and one is in Fairburn and the other is in South Fulton, which is so crazy. But in terms of development, when new development comes to our city, we definitely want to make sure that it's something that looks not to say better than what's existing, but those two apartment complexes, I know one of them has a very high crime rate, and it's a bit much. So if you're going to have an apartment complex or apartment development, not say just complex, but a development that comes in our city, I have had conversations with Mr. Weinstein almost from the beginning of me coming into office. And I've expressed to him how important it is for us to have um, something they're investing in, that their development would be an investment in our community, that it would be something of high quality. I know that people have concerns of developers just throwing stuff up and then just leaving, but I think Mr. Weinstein knows that if you're coming to South Fulton, we're expecting the best, because we have stuff that is not the best, and we want something that will help add value to the area versus something that'll take away or put a strain on the communities that we currently have. And so, that's something that I can assure you that I will continue to reinforce to Mr. Weinstein and his group that if something is going to come into this area, it has to be something of quality. It has to be something that is worth being there, and something that will distinguish us from just throwing something there haphazardly. So I think that in his presentation, from what I see, um, is something that if you, Mr. Weinstein, also your presentation, can you make this available in a format or in a way that everyone on this call, because I believe, Mr. Weinstein, you do have a list of all the email addresses of people that registered to attend this, so that those people can receive those renderings. They can look at the maps, they can look at the different things that you put on the screen, to see the thought that was put into this. And then even if there are additional suggestions, that they can convey that to you, which might give you more to think about, and it can make something that, if it's something that's approved, that the people can be glad that you've listened to them and that they had input that was meaningful to you.
100%. I'm open to that. Another thing to note, council member, you were talking about the two apartments, Orchard Springs off of Oakley Industrial, and then the park at Oakley. Those two apartment communities are older, and sometimes when you have older apartment communities without new ones coming in, the owners of those communities will get complacent, so won't reinvest. They'll say, well, where else are people going to rent? And they get a little lazy. Once you introduce new multifamily apartments that are brand new, people say, oh, wow, I can rent somewhere else. Well, what that does is it forces the other owners, who will at that point see a drop in occupancy. It forces them to start reinvesting in those properties, and ultimately lifting the quality of those properties as well. So they won't be brand new, but it forces owners to reinvest in their properties in order to maintain occupancy.
I do have a question. So, putting that in context, um, so in those two apartment complexes that you talked about, I see that they have like dumpsters that are overflowing with trash. That type of thing brings rodents, brings raccoons, like seriously, rats, raccoons, things that, so as far as like with the trash, how it's collected, or will there be any kind of service like a valet service that goes, from the, unit to unit, or how will that work?
Yeah, so you brought up a very good point. We do have valet trash, and so they pick up the trash, they go unit to unit. But in addition, we put in place compactors. So I hope you guys can see this and it doesn't get too pixelated. But here's a compactor. And so essentially the company that picks up door-to-door trash will put it into this compactor. It's gated off, and it's closed. So, we're not getting rodents. I think that, when some of those apartment homes were built back in the 80s, there were different methods of dealing with trash, whether it's a dumpster. But now, with regulation, you have to, there's certain specifications for compactors. So there's one over here. There's also one over here. See, it says compactor. There is also one over here, and then one over here. So there's more than sufficient space to account for trash. We do not want unwanted animal friends getting into trash. It's a menace, and two, we don't want them to harm themselves either. But we take being clean and having a clean community very seriously. And from what we've seen in the past at some of our communities, when we don't have door-to-door trash pickup, we'll see like down a corridor, drips coming from garbage bags. This way, we have people who are professional, picking up trash, making sure it doesn't drip all over the place, making sure the community stays fresh and in a good and well-maintained fashion.
I also have another question. I guess a combination. So, one of the things that is a concern to me, because it happens in this region, which I happen to live in as well, where cars get broke into. It's a gated community and everything, but in terms of uh, your plans to, say, have security cameras, a relationship with the police, or have private security, a mechanism to make sure that people that are there are not going to be a target, and that type of criminality will not spill over into the existing residents that are on this call.
It's a great question. We take security very seriously. The community will be gated. In order to get in, you are going to either have a fob, or you're going to need to call the resident directly. So the community is gated. So the people that are coming in that are unauthorized, and occasionally it'll happen, but between one person coming in and the door and the gate closing, there's very little time. We have, as I mentioned before, we participate with officers in the local community, and we offer subsidized pricing for their units. The reason for doing that is so that they are their first responders, depending on the community. And I haven't had the conversation yet, but officers will also take their patrol car home, providing that is within the community's regulations. What that does is it deters people who are, looking to do mischief or up to no good, because they see that policemen are there. And also, in the event that anything happens, the police are there first thing without hesitation. So that really does help to limit crime. We have a number of other communities. Does crime happen? Yes, but we deal with it quickly and in a manner that is very seriously taken. So we have property managers who are on site, who live on site. We have police who are on site and also live on site. The two of them, they have, and when I say two, those two groups will interact with each other. They have each other's cell phone numbers. So should something happen, they're there and they get the right personnel to deal with the challenge at hand. We can't prevent crime, but we can do what we can in order to deal with it as it comes. and hopefully make the community as safe as we can by making sure that it is in fact gated. And we also screen applicants and people coming in, whether it's for deliveries, landscaping, or otherwise.
Thank you. Miss Yvonne Boone is asking, what will be the rental prices? And to piggyback on her question, do you have a rendering of do you yet have the floor plans or rendering of the types of, units like 1 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
So we do. They're not fully laid out at this point because we haven't finished the schematic drawings for this. Right now, we just have the site plans and some sample elevations, but they will be coming. So and then to answer the first question in terms of what pricing will look like on a 1 bedroom, anywhere, 1 to 3 bedroom, it's going to be anywhere between 1,500 and about 2,800 a month. And so that will depend on the size of the apartment, whether it's a studio, a true 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom with an office, 2 bedroom, 2 bedroom with an office. But those are the rents that we are targeting.
And Rosalind chimed in and said, in most instances, a builder venture is based on future economic growth. Are there new employers, companies coming to the area? I can halfway answer that question. There is a DRI that I know has been submitted, and it's for a commercial and retail company that's right in this vicinity. So there is, and that's going to be bringing, I think, about 200 to 300 jobs over there. And that's something that will come to you at some point soon for a public participation meeting. So there is some development coming. We actually have a new hotel that just opened up, a Home Two Suites. I just went to see it today, and it is like super fabulous. And then there's another hotel that's coming along to complement that, in addition to the Fairfield Inn, and those are in the city of South Fulton. So it's 3 hotels right there, and so we do have some economic growth. But if Mr. Weinstein has anything to add about employers in the area or any companies.
That's really helpful. And, I think that this entire corridor, it's not a coincidence that it is doing well. I think there's a lot of industrial that's here. And I think that with industrial comes people who work in the area. And as people who work in the area settle down in an area, whether it's on the rental side or on the single family side, it will bring grocers, it will bring the type of retail that I think everyone is looking for. But in terms of like this area and the business expansion, I think that it's here already. There's a lot of employment. If you look at the multifamily that's here in the apartments, the occupancy is high. And to me, that tells me that, more apartments are needed. I was looking at a study that was done in Georgia about single family being maxed out and multifamily being the next avenue to provide, housing. So I think that density will be helpful. And I think that having, best in class apartments for the community, something that everyone can be proud of, will be great. And I think it'll elevate the existing communities, force them to kind of reinvest in order to keep their occupancy, and then bring in those retailers so that, there's a Kroger next door and not a drive away.
So Drew, in Drew's chat, Paul Brady is with him and says, will there be any consideration of fewer units and more trails, amenities, trees. How many do we get to, how do we get to 800 plus units?
That's a good question. Let me go back to site plan. Okay.
So this is 42 acres.
42 acres. And in terms of the open space that we are not touching, um, I believe you guys can see my screen. So around this pond area, and then between the phase one and the phase two, this is all open area, and it's grown and it's natural. So, because of certain features that are on this site, we've had to maintain a lot of the wild and natural agriculture in the area. And so we're maintaining a lot of that. We're also required by the city in order to landscape the project, right? So there's landscape requirements. So we're going to have a lot of greenery on this site, more than most. Even the development that won best project in Knoxville, Tennessee, for a number of years. This has a lot more, and I really think you'll be satisfied with the look and the aesthetics. To the north here, there are some power lines, as we discussed before, but underneath it, there's going to be a lot of greenery that maintains.
So let's see. Jamie Lynn asked, is this Section 8 or government assistance? I think I can answer that based on the price point. I don't think so, but I will let Mr. Weinstein answer that for you.
Yeah, so it's not Section 8. These are market rate. And it allows us to build best in class apartments.
Now, what we do have at Orchard Springs, and I forget the name of the other one, that is Section 8 all day. Orchard Springs and the park at Oakley, those are Section 8. One is higher quality than the other, but they are Section 8 all day, all night. So Felicia, for everyone, we're going to be wrapping up in just a moment, but I want to make sure to uh, get the last few comments. Felicia, I guess she missed when you talked about the price point.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the price point on this, starting from 1 bedroom to a 3 bedroom, is 1,500 to about 2,800. Just depending on whether it's a studio, a 1 bedroom, a 1 bedroom with an office, a 2 bedroom, 2 bedroom with an office, and so on.
Let's see. She also said less doors, move from apartments to condos for ownership to raise the property value in South Fulton. I like to take a little stab at that one, although Mr. Weinstein will answer this question for you. But currently we have a problem in South Fulton, on Old National, with what used to be like the highest quality, highest in class, and it's Camelot. And Camelot has whatever happened over there, because it's a condo association and it's condos, it's really problematic in being able to deal with their issues now, like say 30 years later. So that's my 2 cents on that part.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think when you have a HOA for condos, they go every year for assessments and try to collect, and then people don't want to pay it. In this scenario, the onus is on us to upkeep the apartments and keep them operating as best in class. So we think twofold. One, eventually, a lot of these people who are renting will ultimately buy a home, but it allows people who aren't necessarily ready to buy a home because they're trying to figure out, where they want to live. It attracts those people to this area because buying a home is probably one of the largest decisions that people make in their lives. So by renting first, this is kind of a stepping stone to home ownership. And secondly, in the current environment with interest rates being extremely high, purchasing a home today is a lot more difficult than it was when interest rates were much lower. So I think that having more rental apartments eliminates HOA issues with upkeep and common charges and those types of things. And then secondly, it provides housing during economically difficult times where people would ordinarily be in an easier situation to afford a mortgage.
So my last question, so that everybody would know this, including me, is so what is the timeline on something like this?
It's a great question. So we are just, and I know it sounds a little crazy, but after over a year of going through the process, we were just going back to the city in order to rezone the project. So I think that, we have at least a year before we're going to be putting a shovel in the ground. What's going to be required, in addition to all the planning and schematics work that we've done, one, going through working with planning and zoning, uh, dialing the site even further according to their feedback. Uh, Once it gets approved there, we have two public hearings. After the public hearings, we are going to go into drafting mode for architectural as well as civil, and we put together full construction documents. It includes structural, MEP, civil, and interiors. At that point, we're going to bid it out and get our financing in place and ultimately build it. So that's the need for the lead time.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Weinstein, for this presentation. Thank you, everyone that came on this call. I see that we had a lot of registrations and a lot of really interested people in our community, and I really appreciate that because that's how we hold everyone accountable. And definitely projects like this require your input. So I think that there are some takeaways from this that Mr. Weinstein, will greatly consider. And if anyone wants me to know any additional information when it gets to the point for our considerations on the council, you can email me. I put my email address in the chat. It's my first name dot last name at cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Linda.Pritchett, Pritchett. And also my city cell phone is 470-240-6468. You can text me or call me. Text is really the best way to communicate with me very quickly. If you have any other issues, like Jamie Lynn was saying, if you see the cars racing, Jamie Lee, shoot me a text. I'll let the police know and they'll be right over there. But we appreciate your time this evening and your attention to this and just your commitment to making sure that our community is a great place to live, work, and play. So with that, I will get this presentation from Mr. Weinstein and make sure that he gets this to all of you. So Happy New Year's. And also my little PSA, our city hall has been renovated. I'm here right now. I just moved back in my office within the last week or so. And so we are having a ribbon cutting. I will be posting this on Nextdoor, Facebook, my newsletter, that stuff. The ribbon cutting is on, I believe it's on Monday. On Monday, the 13th. And then our first council meeting in our new city hall, our newly renovated city hall, where we have council chambers, will be on the 14th. So I expect that you all will come and check us out. And I think that you will definitely be thoroughly impressed. So I look forward to seeing you and hearing from you. And thanks again for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night.